What is going on, guys? This is All Gaming with my review of Kekkai Sensen episode 9, and this episode, it was actually pretty simple, and it can be broken up into parts, but we see now that this vampire, because at the beginning of the episode, we saw this vampire, upper half. This thing was like the real threat here. Now, if you thought that, its lower half is led for like Beastie last week, then it's like upper half definitely stepped it up a lot. And we see now first, there were like these, these helicopters, like flying around here, and we see now that the airplane that the vampires, upper half should have been in, it was actually, it was actually at the front of the airplane, and we see now it had like, like some kind of bloody veins, or maybe it was actually, Zez, bloodstreams, actually attached to the vampire. But we saw now at first that, it was stuck on top of it. And we see now that the vampire, his eyes, they were like going purple with like a raise, so to say. But we do see now Zed, he was inside, doing something on a laptop. And we have, Blank, the King of Despair, and you also have Ali Gora as well. Like they were all at some carnival, just watching, what was going on. And we see now that as soon as they got close to the city, we see now, Libra, they were already planning, they were a plan of attack, because we had Blood Hunter, like going in there first. And we see now, after the tentacle monster had destroyed, like over half the airplane, and only the front was left. We had Blood Hunter now doing some kind of wrestling move as he slammed it into a building, and we see now it was all up to Leo to get the name of the vampire so that it couldn't be sealed. And we see that Leo could not get it all, from where he was. So we have Klaus picking him up, and him and Zap, had jumped down. And we see now, obviously, Leo was like definitely scared. But we see that while they were jumping, apparently Klaus can make like these bloody, I'm not sure what to call it, but Klaus definitely uses a lot, and I'm not sure what's like the proper term for them, but it's kind of like a bigger version of what he turned vampires into, as if these were here are like made out of his own blood, or out of something like blood, and not the not the vampire, not the vampire body themselves. Oh, and we also learn now that, even though Zap is like definitely, definitely strong and actually, quite skillful, he is still not as strong as he could be, because we learn now that like Zap cannot fully master, his like fighting style, because using both the fire and wind element, that right there is that right there is far beyond what humans, can achieve. And so right now, Zap's main focus, I believe his is like it's the fire style, so to say, while the other pupil, Zed, he can use both because he is not, fully human. He's like, has something as well. But we see now that as soon as they got close, to the vampire, it was like already attacking them. And we see now, that the vampire, it was definitely a much bigger threat as to when, it was like, just the leg itself. But we see now that once Leo was done getting his name, Blood Hunter quickly got him out of there, because obviously, both like Leo's main power being his eyes, and against a vampire who's a monster against anyone, Leo here was like definitely, at a very, very, high, disadvantage. But we see now that when like Blood Hunter took him to safety, we see now that like Leo saw this aura around the building that was like red, like the vampires, and also Zed as well was like making some kind of a special blue aura that like Leo had been yet to see. But we see now, like where this great seal is, it was like slowly breaking, and we see now that, in this area where it's like covered in water, we see now that it was like glowing green, like to me, you know, I was thinking that maybe that there could have been some kind of like Loch Ness monster that, you know, nobody could handle, you know, like slowly rising. But obviously, you know, it's definitely something much bigger than that. But we still have Blank. You know, like right now, Blank is now plotting another collapse. But right now, he needs something special. You know, like he needs a certain amount that's that's required for him. You know, to trigger that. And so we see now, you know, we have no idea what that is, but we have White now, who was actually out the hospital. At least I think so. I'm not really sure, but we see now once again her heart was like acting up, and she had collapsed. And obviously, you know, like that, but they were like definitely, you know, not a good sign. But we see now, you know, going back, you know, to Klaus and Zap, we see now that like Zap was actually going to save or free Zed, you know, from the airplane, but Zed actually cut himself out. And we see now that when like Zap saw him, not only did he spit in his face, but Zap was like cracking just, and I felt bad for the guy. And we see now that when Zed got mad and was actually, you know, like going to, you know, attack, you know, Zap, he actually, you know, calmed down quite a bit. But now we see that when each of them, you know, had sold their weapons, you know, they could recognize, you know, who they were and just how skilled they were. But now we see the vampire, you know, like, and we do learn that the vampire had been fighting, you know, like 10 hunters, you know, for like 10 hours straight. And, you know, Zed was like wondering if the vampire was like even tiresome. And obviously, you know, from what the vampire did, it did not seem, you know, to be the case at all. But we see now that this like vampire, you know, even its upper half was like so freaking powerful. It was actually able, you know, to melt like straight up into the building, so that it's like other half could like fall onto him. And we see now that when Zed was like telling his master, you know, to attack him, you know, to kill him, because they did block the other way off. You know, the master Raju would do nothing. And we see now Zap was the one who had recognized what they had to do. And we see now that when they had worked together, you know, combining, you know, fire and wind, they were able, you know, to burn the vampire, you know, pretty freaking badly. And that right there had, you know, exposed his heart. And they also had allowed my boy, you know, Klaus to come in there and seal him away. So that there was like definitely nice. And Zed said, you know, quite nicely. And so we see now that after it was all said and done, we see now that now Raju, he is now leaving Zed in their care. And so now Zed here is an official member of Libra. But we see now that shock right there, and him being so overworked, it actually, you know, like knocked him out. And when we saw that, you know, his face, I was like dying laughing. Oh, and then we finally go back to, you know, to Blank. And, you know, after things calm down now, it seems that, you know, the King of Despair, he can see, you know, through Blank, and knows he's like lying to him. And so we see now, but like, even though he knows that, you know, they will still help him, at least, you know, Aligora, because she had made, like, she had made some kind of advice, and, you know, and gave it to Blank, you know, and Blank was like so grateful because he thought it was impossible, but like she had made it happen. And then we get this flashback now, you know, of what happened that night, you know, that this blue fire, you know, appeared before, you know, before White and Black. And so we see now what happened was, you know, during the original collapse, you know, like we see now at first, you know, Black here, he like for some reason to him, he like some beautiful part that was like still saved. But we have White running for him with like a gun. But obviously, you know, like when the flame player, you know, William, because that right there is his real name. He actually, you know, like told this flame, if he needs something, you know, take it from him, but do nothing to his sister. And so he pretty much sacrificed himself. And so we see now, you know, after you know him and the Flame merge, that right there is where Blank like that right there is where Blank came to life. But obviously, you know that right there is not his real name, because when Whitehair was going to say it, it obviously was like meted out. So we have no idea what his name is. We can only go by Blank, because if we do learn his real name, because I do believe Blank is a vampire, then that right there, you know, will allow him to be sealed. So maybe Blank did not tell, you know, White, you know, his name, so that they couldn't seal him, because obviously if White were to betray him, that right there could be quite troublesome. But we see now that when White does come to, we find her, you know, in the hospital. And so we see now, Blank here actually gave her that device that like Alagura made, because he wants her to take Leo's eyes. And if she does this, then like Blank here will give her brother body back to her. And to me, that's like obviously a lie. There's no way, you know, Blank here could survive without a body. So hopefully, you know, like White will see through this, because to me, I'm calling major BS on this. But we see now that when White tells him that like she want to be friends with Leo, he tells her, you know, that is impossible. I do wonder why is that. Is he planning on killing Leo, you know, if he gets his eyes, or maybe Leo will die if he loses them? But we see now Leo himself, he was now back in the Libra base, and he was trying to write to his sister, which to me is kind of weird, because how can his sister read? No, like maybe she does have her eyes. I'm not really sure, but I do know that every time we have you know seen his sister, I do believe her eyes are closed just like his. And obviously, you know, she cannot walk anymore because she is in a wheelchair. So I do wonder, you know, like what's going on with his sister, because we only saw her, you know, in episode 1. But right now, you know, like Leo is stuck, and we see now Klaus being a good guy, being there for his comrades. Because, you know, he was like telling Leo that his eyes were not the only thing that definitely woke him in Libra, because obviously, you know, Leo is a good guy. He is definitely one of the most, you know, valued comrades. So of course, you know, they need him as well. And so we see now, you know, and like in another flashback, you know, of White with her father. We learn now, you know, that her real name is Mary. And so we see now that they got the idea of calling each other, you know, White and Black, you know, from their father, you know, one night when he was drunk. But we see now that her father, I'm guessing that maybe that these guys, you know, weren't fully human, or it's possible that they had, you know, special abilities, because, you know, it seemed like he was like warning her, you know, for the present day, because, you know, he was telling her that, you know, that these two, they are 2 in 1, and if like if anything, if Black here is like ever making a mistake, then White, you know, has to help him. And so obviously, you know, at first, you know, she was like definitely misunderstanding that, but we see now that obviously, you know, there are peaceful times. It definitely wouldn't last. And then we go to Blank once again, who like still in control, and we see him now laughing, but this time we see like these black tears running down his face, and I do wonder, you know, like what that means. Is he like killing, you know, Black here? Like the more he's out, like I'm not sure how that's working, but hopefully, you know, they will explain it. But the episode of the show was definitely, like, to me, it was definitely pretty good. We got a ton of action, we got a new comrade, and we learn more about White and Black. Like these are characters, they're getting so in depth that I'm like definitely intrigued to see, you know, what happens next. But overall, to me, I loved it. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. But of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, because it really helps me out. And you guys take it easy. I will see you all next time.